Hello friends, in this video we are going to learn about the arterial supply of the face. As you know, the main artery of the face is the facial artery. One MCQ. This facial artery is also known as anesthetist artery. Second MCQ. This artery is having zigzag course, tortuous course in the face. MCQ. So various MCQs are asked from here, and yes, you know Shri Devi, Hema Malini, Anushka Sharma, Priyanka Chopra, these all the heroines, Hollywood, Bollywood, Tollywood, they all are always and always going for the plastic surgery. Why? Because this face is having rich in vascular supply. So a small lesion causes profuse bleeding, as well as, yes, it gives excellent response to any kind of the surgery or the plastic surgery because it is rich in vascular supply. So the arterial supply of the face is important. So we are going to discuss about this topic. Yes, can you see this image? Just for the imagination, see here, this is the common carotid artery. Yes, this common carotid artery divides into the internal carotid artery, which we will study later in the brain part. And can you see this another artery is the external carotid artery. Clinical correlation, can you see at the bifurcation site of the common carotid artery, the dilatation is seen, which is known as carotid sinus. Your physiologic correlation that this carotid sinus is rich in chemoreceptor and the baroreceptor, which are very essential for the BP regulation, etc. Okay, now see here, this external carotid artery is going to supply the thyroid gland. Yes, here is the external carotid artery. First it meets with the thyroid gland, so it will give first branch to the thyroid gland. So that is the superior thyroid artery, first branch. Now this artery is ascending and it is close to the tongue, so it gives the second branch to the tongue. So this is the artery for the tongue, lingual artery. Now as this artery is running above, it is reaching near the face, so it gives a facial artery to the face. So I am telling you the course of the facial artery. Can you see the facial artery is the branch of the external carotid artery, then facial artery is initially medial to the mandible, then it is winding along the inferior margin of the mandible, then it lies, here is the position of the masseter muscle, so it lies antero-inferior to the muscle, masseter muscle. Yes, this is the MCQ, it lies antero-inferior to the masseter, then this is having the zigzag course along the face. When it is ascending upside, try to study in your own body. Yes, when it is ascending upside, first it gives first branch to the inferior lip. So this is the inferior labial artery. Yes, this is the branch of the facial artery, that is the inferior labial artery. Then when it is ascending upside, it is giving the branch to the upper lip, superior labial artery. Then as it is running above, it is reaching towards the medial angle of the eye and it ends as the angular artery. Yes, this is the angular artery which anastomose with the one artery which is known as the dorsal nasal artery. Yes, it anastomose with the dorsal nasal artery at medial angle of the eye and it ends. Okay, yes, it gives various unnamed muscular branches on the posterior side also. We will revise this all the things with making the diagram, but these are the various branches of the facial artery and its course. Now can you see here, this external carotid artery is running upside and then it is dividing into the two terminal branches. Yes, this is the one branch towards the temporal side, that's why this is the temporal artery. Yes, this is the temporal artery because it is superficial in location, that's why this is known as the superficial temporal artery, while the another branch is running towards the maxilla bone. So here this is the maxillary artery. Yes, I am showing with the blue color, this artery is running over the maxilla, so this is the maxillary artery. So these are the two terminal branches. External carotid artery is dividing into two terminal branches. Yes, superficial temporal and maxillary artery. Superficial temporal over the temporal bone, maxillary artery over the maxilla bone. Yes, now what are the posterior branches? We are using the green color. Can you see this artery is running posteriorly to the external acoustic meatus. So the artery which is running behind the ear is known as posterior auricular artery, while another artery which is running towards the occipital bone again with the zigzag course, so this is the occipital artery, while this is the posterior auricular artery. So these are the two terminal branches. Okay, now see, only one medial branch is there which is running medially and ascending upside to supply the pharynx. Getting the point? So this artery should be known as the ascending. Why it is known as the ascending? Because it is running upside. Then it is supplying the pharynx. That's why pharyngeal artery. Yes, here there is the one medial branch. Can you see this medial branch, dotted line? So this is the ascending pharyngeal artery. Now we are going to draw this same image in an easy way. So take a blank paper and draw the diagram. Practice. Suppose this is the face, this is the margin of mandible, this is the angle of mandible, and you know here there is the ear. Suppose this is the ear, just behind the ear there is the mastoid process, okay, and then on the posterior side this is the occipital margin and this is the neck part. Suppose this is the face part. Yes, this area is indicating the eye. Suppose this is the eye. So now what is happening? The common carotid artery is in the neck within the carotid sheath. Yes, diagrammatic presentation. This is the common carotid artery which is dividing into the external carotid artery and another is the internal carotid artery, and yes, at this site there is the dilatation at the bifurcation side, that is the carotid sinus. Okay, so these are the two division. What I told you, yes, this is the common carotid artery, this is internal carotid artery, and here is external carotid artery. This structure is indicating the carotid sinus which is having the chemoreceptor and the baroreceptor. Now one by one try to think diagrammatic presentation. Suppose this is the thyroid gland location, this is the thyroid gland location. So the first artery of the external carotid is supplying the thyroid gland. So what should be the name of this artery? This is known as superior thyroid artery. MCQ. The first branch of the external carotid artery, your answer is the superior thyroid artery. Gray's Anatomy writes clear cut that superior thyroid artery is the first branch of the external carotid artery. Few books will say that ascending pharyngeal artery is the first branch, but no, maximum books along with the Gray's Anatomy that is saying the first branch of the external carotid artery is the superior thyroid artery, and yes, it will be very helpful for our thyroid surgery topic also. Thyroid blood supply, superior thyroid artery, inferior thyroid artery. Superior thyroid artery is the branch of the external carotid artery, while the inferior thyroid artery is the branch from the thyrocervical trunk coming from the subclavian artery, which was the MCQ from the AIIMS 2018. Yes, now we are going to talk what are the other branches. Can you see here inside there is the tongue. Suppose this is the diagrammatic presentation of the tongue. So what will happen? Yes, the next branch of the external carotid artery is supplying towards the tongue. So what should be the name of this artery? This is the second branch known as the lingual artery. So what is the blood supply of the tongue? Lingual artery. Now see, the external carotid artery is running above. Yes, the external carotid artery is running above, and this external carotid artery is reaching towards the temporal bone, and yes, it is giving the branch to the maxilla part also. Diagrammatic presentation. So these are the two terminal branches. Yes, what are the two terminal branches? This is the again continuation of the external carotid artery. This artery is running over the maxilla. That's why this artery is known as maxillary artery, while this artery is known as superficial in location. That's why superficial. It is supplying towards the temporal bone. That's why known as the superficial temporal artery. So what are the two terminal branches? I am indicating with the yellow color. Yes, maxillary artery and the superficial temporal arteries. They are the terminal branches. Two terminal branches. External carotid artery is dividing into the maxillary artery and superficial temporal. You can remember by keeping the two fingers in this way in front of the ear. Okay, so this is the maxillary and this is the superficial temporal artery. Okay, now see here, it gives the two posterior branches. Yes, one branch is running posterior to the ear, that's a posterior auricular, and another branch is running with the zigzag course behind the mastoid process towards the occipital bone. So this is the occipital artery. So what are the name? This artery is known as posterior auricular artery, while this artery is known as occipital artery. So these two blue color arteries, okay, they are the posterior branches. We will make the list later, but these are the posterior branches. Now only one medial branch is remaining. It will supply the pharynx part. So this artery is known as ascending because it is ascending upside. That's why ascending, supplying to the pharynx. That's why ascending pharyngeal artery. In short, we will use the term, yes, APA. So this is the ascending pharyngeal artery. MCQ, this is the only medial branch. Now only one artery is remaining, that is the facial artery. We will draw that facial artery. Yes, here is the facial artery. We will draw the another image for the facial artery, because the main artery of the face is the facial artery. So we will discuss in detail. Okay, so this is the facial artery, diagrammatic presentation. This is the facial artery. So this is the another MCQ. Okay, so till now, how many branches of the external carotid artery? You can draw the flow chart. External carotid artery, it gives 8 branches. So this is the MCQ. Next, this external carotid artery, it is having the branches. You can remember by the anterior branches, then yes, posterior branches, then terminal branches, medial branch. Okay, so what are the anterior branches? Yes, anteriorly thyroid, tongue and the face. So you can remember easily what are the anterior branches. Yes, anterior branches, first superior thyroid artery, second is the lingual artery, and third one is the facial artery. You have to write down the complete name. Okay, now what are the posterior branches? As you have seen, the posterior branches, posterior auricular and the occipital. Yes, posterior auricular artery, and the second one is the occipital artery. Now what are the two terminal branches? Yes, maxillary and superficial temporal. So what are the terminal branches? First, superficial temporal artery, and then second one is the maxillary artery. Now only one medial branch, that is the ascending pharyngeal artery. In short, now we will say this artery as APA. Okay, so MCQ, how many anterior branches? 3. How many posterior branches? 2. How many terminal branches? 2. How many medial branches? Only 1. Okay, so total how many branches? You can calculate 3 plus 2 5 plus 2 7 plus 1, total 8 branches. So various MCQ you can make from here. Among this all, one more MCQ, this facial artery and the occipital artery, these are the classical example of tortuous artery, the arteries which are having the zigzag course. So MCQ, what are the other tortuous artery in the body? Yes, you can remember 2 in face, 2 in abdomen. So what are the tortuous artery in the face? You can remember first artery which is tortuous, that is the facial artery. Facial artery, another artery which is on the posterior side, that is the occipital artery. Now what are the two arteries in the abdomen? Yes, first is the uterine artery, and another artery which is supplying to the spleen, that is the splenic artery. Just think, yes, facial artery is here. God created the facial artery with the zigzag course. Why? Suppose this artery will be straight, then when we will open the mouth one time, this artery will get rupture. So what the God created? Yes, the God created this artery with the zigzag course. Yes, this artery is having the zigzag. In the same way, the occipital artery is having the zigzag course. Suppose the God is creating this artery straight. So once we will do the flexion of the neck, this artery will get ruptured. So the God created the occipital artery with the zigzag course, tortuous course. In the same way, the uterus is very small in the pelvic part. When there is a pregnancy, the uterus reaches up to the diaphragm. Suppose this artery will straight. So once the pregnancy becomes, then this artery will get ruptured. So God created the uterine artery zigzag to facilitate the movement to bear the baby. In the same way, here is the, yes, spleen. So when we are doing breathing, so this spleen is moving. Suppose the God is creating the splenic artery with the straight course. So once we are doing breathing, this artery may get rupture. So God created this artery with the zigzag course. So remember, these are the 4 classical arteries with the zigzag course. MCQ. Okay, so we are going to see what are the branches of the facial artery in the face, which is the most important artery. So you can draw, we are talking about the facial artery. So what are the various MCQ about the facial artery? First, this is the main artery of face. Yes, what is the another MCQ? This is the tortuous in course. Yes, another MCQ, where it is felt, it is palpable, where two sides for the palpation for the facial artery. First is antero-inferior angle of mandible, and second is 1.25 centimeter lateral. Yes, okay, because this facial artery is palpable, that's why this is used by the anesthetic person, anesthesia people, to measure the light idea about the blood pressure, yes, pulse, this all during the surgical process. That's why this is also known as the anesthetist artery. So this is another MCQ. Now we are going to draw the course and the branches of the facial artery, because in the NEET exam the MCQ have been asked about this facial artery and its branches. Suppose this is the face, this is the posterior occipital margin, this is the angle of the mandible, and here is the ear, and this is the mastoid process, diagrammatic presentation, and this part is indicating the eye. Suppose here is the common carotid artery which is dividing into the external and internal carotid artery. Suppose this is the common carotid artery, so here is the internal carotid artery and this is the external carotid artery. So now what is happening, this external carotid artery is running for its course and it is dividing into the maxillary artery and the superficial temporal artery. So this is the diagrammatic presentation of the external carotid artery, but we are talking here about the facial artery. So this is the facial artery. Now this facial artery is winding on the medial side of the mandible, then coming from the front. Got the point? Yes. Here it lies antero-inferior angle to masseter. So this is one of the MCQ. It is antero-inferiorly to the masseter. Okay. Now when this artery is running above to supply the face, so remember this artery runs with the zigzag course. So you have to draw with this zigzag course up to the angle of the eye. So what are the branches? First it is giving the branch to the inferior lip, inferior labial artery, then it is giving the branch to the upper lip, superior labial artery, then it is giving the branch to the lateral part of the nose, that's why lateral nasal artery, then it is ending at the medial angle of the eye as an angular artery. And yes, it gives various unnamed branches on the posterior side to supply the muscles of the face. So these are the various branches. We can write down here what are the names of this artery. This is the first inferior labial artery, this is the second superior labial artery, this is the third, that is the lateral nasal artery, and this small branch is the fourth at the angle of the eye, that's why you can say angular artery. Yes, and these various small branches, they are just known as unnamed muscular branches. This angular artery anastomoses with another artery which is coming from the side of the internal carotid artery. This artery is known as dorsal nasal artery. Yes, it is coming from the side of the internal carotid artery, while this angular artery is coming from the facial artery, which is the branch of the external carotid artery. So this medial angle of the eye is the classical site for the anastomosis in between the external and internal. Yes, internal and the external carotid artery. Do you remember the scalp was also the site for the anastomosis between internal and external? Another site is the face. Yes, this medial angle of the eye, you can say. So these are the various branches of the facial artery. Because at this site and at the lateral angle of the mouth, these are the two sites where the anesthesia people, they can palpate this artery for the measurement of the pulse, BP, etc. That's why this artery is known as the anesthetist artery. So this is about the arterial supply of the face. Okay, other arteries are also there. Yes, like the buccal artery, okay, zygomatico-temporal, zygomatico-facial, infraorbital, this all, but these facial artery is important. Can you see this MCQ, which is not the branch of the facial artery? Yes, this is the question in your common entrance test pattern, DNB exam. Yes, can you see which is not the branch? Lateral nasal, yes, it is the branch. Superior labial, yes, it is the branch. Inferior labial, yes, it is the branch. But the sublingual artery, it is not the branch of the facial artery. Yes, so your answer is the sublingual artery. Here you can see the vein, angular vein is coming from here. And this angular vein is formed by the union of the supratrochlear and the supraorbital vein. Then it is running as a facial vein. Okay. Now can you see this facial vein is coming and then it is uniting with the various vein and finally it forms the deep facial vein and ultimately it is opening into the internal jugular vein. It forms the common facial vein. Then it opens into the internal jugular vein. We will draw the diagram. This superficial temporal vein and this is the maxillary vein. Both are uniting to make the retromandibular vein. This is the transverse facial vein. So you can drop this vein. This is not important. And can you see this one bunch of the vein is there over the pterygoid muscles. That's why this muscle, this venous plexus over the pterygoid muscle is known as pterygoid venous plexus. So now we are going to draw this image in the simple easy way. Suppose this is the forehead, nose part, and this is the lip part, and this is the chin part. Okay, this is the margin of mandible and the angle of mandible. Here is the ear, and this is the occipital region, and this is the neck part. This is the scalp part. Diagrammatic presentation, suppose this is the eye. Okay, so just to see, here the two veins are uniting together. So here is the supratrochlear vein as well as the supraorbital vein. Both are uniting to make the angular vein near the medial angle of the eye. Then this vein is running behind the facial artery, so it is known as the facial vein. This is the supratrochlear vein, while this is the supraorbital vein, and both are uniting to make the angular vein, and this angular vein is continuing as a facial vein. So are you learning how the vein is draining? Yes. Now see here, suppose at the deeper aspect there is a position of the mandible. So one vein is running here behind the mandible. So what should be the name of this vein? This is known as the retromandibular vein. Now in short we will write down RMV, because it is behind the mandible, that's why known as the retromandibular vein. Now this retromandibular vein is dividing into the anterior division and the posterior division. Yes, this is the retromandibular which is dividing into the anterior and the posterior division. Okay, yes, this anterior division is uniting with the facial vein, and this new form vein is known as common facial vein. So this is the common facial vein. Yes, this is the anterior division, while this is the posterior division of retromandibular vein. Now we are going to learn what is happening to this posterior division, but before that, how this retromandibular vein is formed. One vein is coming from the temporal region, so this is known as the superficial temporal vein, just as the artery. Another vein is coming from the maxillary part, so this is the maxillary. Yes, one is uniting, is opening in the temporal vein part, that is a transverse facial vein which follows the transverse facial artery. So what are the various new names which we have seen? This is the superficial temporal vein. This branch which is opening in the superficial temporal vein, that is the transverse facial vein, and this vein is the maxillary vein. So this maxillary vein and the superficial vein both are uniting to form the retromandibular vein. Now we are going to see, yes, what is happening to this posterior division. One vein is coming from the posterior side of the ear. So what should be the name? Definitely your answer is, this is known as posterior auricular vein. This posterior auricular vein is uniting with the posterior division and making one very important vein of the neck, external jugular vein. Very most important, this is the external jugular vein. So MCQ, how this external jugular vein is formed? Yes, write down. External jugular vein is formed by the union of two posterior veins. MCQ, what are the two posterior veins? Yes, answer is posterior division of retromandibular vein and posterior auricular vein. So these are the MCQ. How the external jugular vein is formed? As you know, the external jugular vein is very important for the jugular venous pressure. It directly reflects the pressure of the right atria. That's why you must know how this external jugular vein is formed. And remember another applied part, whenever there is the neck surgery, never cut this external jugular vein. So you know there is a one contractile muscle in the neck, platysma. So when there is a contraction in the platysma, so there is the opening of the cutting of the external jugular vein because of the contractile nature of the platysma. So air will get entry within the external jugular vein and it may cause the air embolism, which will be fatal for the human. As you know very well from your first year, this lower part of the nose and the upper lip part is known as dangerous area of the face. But nowadays in the maxillofacial surgery, this same part, lower part of the nose and the upper part of the lip, is told in a different terminology, that is the maxillofacial death pyramid. Both are same. What is this maxillofacial death pyramid? Yes, the bridge of the nose is uniting with the corner of the mouth. So this diagrammatic presentation, this hypothetical pyramid is known as maxillofacial death pyramid. One more diagram. Suppose this is the face, nose, mouth and the chin, and here is the occipital region, neck part. Here is the ear. Suppose here is the eye. Here is a supratrochlear, supraorbital vein. Both are uniting to make the angular vein, and then there is the facial vein is running. Okay. And now see what happens if there is the infection to this lower part of the nose or the upper lip, or maxillofacial death pyramid, the infection will reach into the facial vein. Yes, the infection is reaching into the facial vein. Now the infection is running in the facial vein. Now this facial vein is communicating with the other vein. This vein is continuing as a deep facial vein on the inner side. So what is the name of this vein? This is the deep facial vein. Yes, what is the name of this vein? This is the facial vein. Now see, this deep facial vein is going inside and it is making the bunch over the pterygoid muscles. Suppose these are the medial and lateral pterygoid muscle. So this deep facial vein is making the bunch of the vein you have seen in the image. So this bunch of the vein is known as the pterygoid venous plexus. So pterygoid muscle with pterygoid venous plexus. So now this pterygoid venous plexus is communicating with the special kind of the vein. Yes, these veins are running inside the brain and they are meeting with the very deeply situated one large sinus of the brain, that is the cavernous sinus. We will study later this cavernous sinus, but remember it is nothing, it is the large intracranial vein. Okay, so as we know that the veins which are connecting the extracranial vein and the intracranial vein, they are known as the emissary vein. So these veins are known as the emissary vein. We have studied in the scalp video. You can see that video. What are the emissary vein? The veins which joins the extracranial vein and intracranial vein, they are known as the emissary vein. And I already told you in the scalp video that these emissary veins are valveless. So infection can go, blood flow can go in either the direction. Getting the point? So what I want to tell you, see here, suppose if any person is having any kind of the infection in the lower part of the nose or the upper part of the lip, which is considered as dangerous area of the face or maxillofacial death pyramid, the infection is reaching into the facial vein. Now the infection is reaching from the facial vein into the deep facial vein, and from the deep facial vein the infection is reaching into the pterygoid venous plexus, and through this pterygoid venous plexus the blood is reaching through the emissary vein into the cavernous sinus. Okay, and you know the cavernous sinus is very closely related with the, we will see later, third cranial nerve, fourth cranial nerve, V1, V2, along with this internal carotid artery, along with the sympathetic plexus and the sixth nerve. So many important structures are passing through the cavernous sinus. So if there is the involvement of the cavernous sinus, then internal carotid artery may get blocked. And yes, the death is possible because the internal carotid artery along with the vertebrobasal system participate in the formation of the circle of Willis, major blood supply of the brain. That's why the infection of the lower part of the nose and the upper lip may cause death. Along with this all, there may be the damage, there may be the paralysis, there may be the damage of the third, fourth, fifth first branch, fifth second branch, and also the sixth nerve. Okay, that's why this part is considered as the dangerous area of the face or maxillofacial death pyramid. Yes, now few little more thing, what is happening to the anterior division of that retromandibular vein? Again come to the same diagram. This anterior division of retromandibular vein, it is uniting with the facial vein and now making the common facial vein. Now what is happening to this common facial vein? Yes, this common facial vein opens into the large vein, that is the internal jugular vein. So remember, the common facial vein is opening into the internal jugular vein. It is not making the internal jugular vein. The internal jugular vein is coming from the sigmoid sinus. It is the continuation of the sigmoid sinus. Okay, so that is the another MCQ we will see in the sinuses of the brain, but this is the pathway. So we are going to draw one flow chart for this all venous drainage. Okay, I am using the short term, you have to write down complete name. This is the supratrochlear vein, which is uniting the with the supraorbital vein. Okay, now both vein, they are uniting at the medial angle of the eye, that is known as the angular vein. Now this angular vein is continuing as a facial vein. Now this facial vein was meeting with the anterior division of the retromandibular vein and making the common facial vein. How it was making? By uniting with the, yes, anterior division of retromandibular vein. Okay, then last, this common facial vein, it was getting open into the internal jugular vein. Yes, not forming, it was opening into internal jugular vein. So this is the one part, while the another part, there was the superficial temporal vein plus maxillary vein. Both are uniting to make the retromandibular vein. Now this retromandibular vein was dividing into the anterior division and posterior division. Anterior division already we have discussed. Now we are going to talk about the posterior division. Yes, suppose here is the ear, diagrammatic presentation. So the vein which is running behind the ear, posterior auricular vein. So this posterior division is uniting with the posterior auricular vein, and both posterior, yes, posterior auricular vein plus posterior division of retromandibular vein, they are uniting to make the external jugular vein. So this is very important MCQ. Okay, now again within this same flow chart we are going to include the dangerous area of the face. Suppose here is the nose and the mouth. So this lower part of the nose and the upper lip part, the infection from here, it reaches into the facial vein. Okay, from the facial vein is connected with the deep facial vein. Now the deep facial vein is connected with the pterygoid venous plexus. Now this pterygoid venous plexus, it was connected with the cavernous sinus via the very important valvulus vein. They are known as the emissary veins. And when the infection is reaching to this cavernous sinus, then there is the involvement of the third nerve, fourth nerve, V1, V2, sixth nerve, along with the internal carotid artery with sympathetic plexus. Question is, all are true about the facial vein except largest vein of the face? Yes, it is true. Okay, drains into the external jugular vein. Facial vein was draining into the external jugular vein? No, it was draining into the common facial vein. Via the common facial vein, it was draining into the internal jugular vein. So definitely this is the false. But can you see, formed by the angular vein? Yes, it was the continuation of the angular vein and has no valve. Yes, it is also true statement. Facial vein is not having any valve. So definitely your answer is Bombay. Okay, so always the MCQ has been asked from your arteries as well as from the vein part, and dangerous area of the face is again important MCQ. So now we are going to discuss about the nerve supply of the face, sensory nerve supply as well as the motor nerve supply. There are the two types of the nerve supply of the face. What are the two types of the nerve supply? Definitely sensory and the motor. So you can make the diagram, sensory nerve and motor nerve. Which nerve is the sensory nerve? MCQ. Trigeminal nerve is the sensory nerve. And which is the motor nerve? MCQ. The facial nerve is the motor nerve. Yes, the trigeminal nerve is having the three division which can be remembered by the fifth one, fifth two, fifth three, or V1, V2, V3. Generally these are the terminology. Yes, and the seventh nerve, we can easily remember the branches of the seventh nerve in this manner. Hope you are knowing. The first branch running towards the temporal side, temporal branch. Zygomatic bone, zygomatic branch. Then buccal region, that's a buccal branch. Margin of the mandible, that's a marginal mandibular, and near the neck, that's a cervical. So what are the branches of this facial nerve? Yes, you can write down temporal, zygomatic, buccal nerve, which later divides into the upper buccal and the lower buccal. Upper buccal and the lower buccal. And the fourth is the marginal mandibular, and last one is the cervical. So these are the motor branches. But now we are going to see what are the branches of the V1, V2 and the V3. Then we will complete this flow chart. This is the dermatome presentation. Can you see the V1? Because it is supplying near the eye part, that's why this V1 is also known as the ophthalmic division. Can you see this V2 part is supplying over the maxilla part, so this is known as the maxillary division, and this V3 part is supplying over the mandible region, that's why this is known as the mandibular division, except this angle of the mandible which is supplied by the great auricular nerve. We will talk later. Okay, yes, again this is the same image from the Natter's anatomy for your revision. So now we are going to see what are the various branches of this V1, V2, V3, ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. Yes, trigeminal nerve, which is the largest cranial nerve of our body. Okay, so we are going to see various branches. We can draw the diagram. Suppose this is the face, nose, and yes, this is the mouth part. Now this is the margin of mandible, here is the angle of mandible which is very close towards the ear. Posterior to it there is the mastoid process, and yes, here is the occipital region, and this is the neck part. Suppose this is the face. Okay, yes, suppose this is the our eyeball, eyelid. Okay, so the trigeminal nerve is having the three division, V1, V2, V3, which are supplying the particular segment of the skin, or you can say dermatome part of the face. So you have to draw the three lines. How you will draw the three lines? Yes, the first line, it is supplying from this area and running, covering the upper lid part and dorsum of the nose, the forehead part, scalp involving the upper eyelid, then it is involving the dorsum of the nose up to the tip of the nose. Okay, so these are the part supplied by this V1. Yes, V2 is supplying in this particular area. You can use the color. It is covering the lower eyelid part, side of the nose, or you can say ala of the nose, and the maxilla part including the upper lip, not the lower lip. Now we can see the mandibular division is supplying to which part? So the mandibular nerve is supplying the lower lip, chin part, mandible part, but not supplying the angle of mandible. Then little part is supplying the auricle and the temporal region, and yes, it is supplying up to the few part of the scalp, but here there is the area which is supplied by the cervical plexus. So this part is not supplied by the trigeminal nerve. Remember, this area is very important, which is supplying the auricle part as well as the angle of the mandible as well as the shaving area, because recently the question has been asked. Later we will study in detail, but remember, this is the most important fact. This part is supplied by great auricular nerve, and the root value is the ventral rami of C2 and C3. If you want to remember one particular spinal segment, then C2 is the best. Okay, so remember, this is very important. The angle of the mandible, great part of the auricle, major nerve supply of the pinna, as well as the shaving area is supplied by the great auricular nerve, which have been continuously 3 times asked in the recent NEET AIIMS exam as correlating with the Fraze syndrome. We will see the Fraze syndrome later, but remember, this area is different. So these are the 3 dermatome. Yes, what are the 3 dermatome? The yellow color part is indicating the V1 ophthalmic division. This blue color part is indicating V2 maxillary division, while this green color part is indicating the V3 mandibular dermat. Okay, so what are the various branches of this V1, V2, V3? So can you draw the diagram? The V1 is having the 5 branches which is supplying the forehead part. Yes, the first branch is supratrochlear nerve, and another nerve is above the orbit, that's a supraorbital, and another nerve is near the lacrimal gland, that's why lacrimal nerve. Another nerve is just below the supratrochlear, that's why infratrochlear, and another one more nerve up to the tip of the nose. This nerve is supplying the outer side of the nose, that's why external nasal nerve. So what are the various names of this V1 divisions? You can write down. This is supratrochlear nerve. Do you remember the nerve supply of the scalp? Just correlate. Supraorbital nerve, while this is near the lacrimal gland, that's why this is the lacrimal nerve. This nerve is just below the supratrochlear, that's why this is known as infratrochlear nerve, and this nerve is very important, supplying the tip of the nose, that is the external nasal nerve. MCQ have been asked that external nasal nerve, it supplies the tip of nose. So this is your old MCQ. Now we are going to see what are the branches of the V2 maxillary nerve. This maxillary nerve gives one branch which is below the orbit. So this is the infraorbital nerve, and another nerve is supplying from this zygomatic bone towards the temporal region, and another branch from the zygomatic bone towards the facial region. So zygomatic to the temporal, zygomatico-temporal, while from the zygomatic bone to the face part, zygomatico-facial nerve. So what are the names? Yes, you can write down here. This is the below the orbit, that's why what you will say, infraorbital nerve 1. This nerve is from the zygomatic to the temporal side, that's why this is zygomatico-temporal nerve. This nerve is from the zygomatic to the bone side, face side, that's why this is zygomatico-facial nerve. So these are the 3 divisions of the maxillary nerve. Now see, the mandibular nerve is giving the branches, and what are the names? Yes, in the mental region, this is giving the mental nerve. In the buccal part, it is giving the buccal branch, and one branch is supplying the auricle and then temporal region. So this is known as the auriculotemporal nerve. Break the name. Okay, so just to catch the idea according to their names. This nerve in the chin region, mental region, that's why this is known as mental nerve. Next nerve over the buccal region, that's why it is known as buccal nerve, and last nerve which is supplying the auricle as well as the temporal region. That's why it is known as auricle. That's why auriculo-temporal region. That's why temporal nerve. So these are the three nerve which you can remember with the help of the mnemonic, that is the MBA. MBA is your trick. So these all are the sensory nerve supply of the face, V1, V2, V3 and its branches. So again, after this practice we can talk about that flow chart so that you can remember in an easy way. Yes, V1, V2, V3. What are the branches? Yes, you can again revise. V1 you can remember by the trick Su L-I-E. Su-Su-Li is your trick. Yes, Su-Su-Li. Su, supratrochlear nerve, and then supraorbital nerve, then L for, yes, near the lacrimal gland. That's why this is the lacrimal nerve. Next nerve is just below the supratrochlear. That's why infratrochlear nerve. Next nerve is supplying the tip of the nose. That's why external nasal nerve. So here you can remember the trick Su-Su-Li. Then we are going to write down the branches of the V2 with the help of the trick. Your trick is I-Z-Z. Yes, I for infraorbital nerve, Z for zygomaticotemporal nerve, Z for zygomaticofacial nerve. Okay, so these are the branches from the V2. You can remember by the I-Z-Z. Okay, now what are the branches from the V3? Your trick is M-B-A. M for mental nerve, B for buccal nerve and A for auriculotemporal nerve. So here your trick is the MBA. Okay, so your trick is Su-Su-Li is MBA. So in this funny way you can remember the branches of the V1, V2, V3 which are very important. Okay, so this is the list for you. Sensory nerve supply of the face. Yes, remember we are talking about the sensory nerve supply of the face. So after the discussion of the sensory nerve supply, we are going to see few MCQ as well as the few applied part. Yes, again I am telling you, these are the very two important MCQ which have been asked in AIIMS as well as the NEET exam. That angle of mandible is supplied by anterior division of great auricular nerve and the root value is the C2, C3. Ventral rami, and NEET 2016 they have already asked tip of the nose is supplied by external nasal nerve which is the branch of the V1. So these are the very important MCQ. Okay, so can you see the applied part? Here we are going to talk about the trigeminal neuralgia, the severe shooting burning pain along the root of the trigeminal nerve is known as the trigeminal neuralgia. Yes, Salman Khan was having the trigeminal neuralgia. Yes, can you see in this image? This diagram is showing the trigeminal nerve which is having the 3 division and supplying all the part of the face. Also the few branches of the trigeminal nerve that supplies to the meninges. That's why in case of the trigeminal neuralgia, due to the irritation of the meninges, headache is also common. Okay, so now see here what is happening, that this trigeminal neuralgia is presenting with the too much pain. So correlate with your pharmacology and then neurosurgery. This trigeminal neuralgia, the drug of choice of this trigeminal neuralgia from your pharmacology and the medicine. Yes, answer is the carbamazepine. Okay, yes, the second drug of choice, if you can recall, then it is the valproate, anti-epileptic drug. Yes, but if not treated, if by this drug not treated, then nowadays in the clinical the gabapentin is also successfully used. So these are the clinical treatment. But if this trigeminal neuralgia is not curable by this medicine, then the surgery is done, neurosurgery. What is the surgery for this trigeminal neuralgia? Yes, your answer is 90% alcohol within Meckel's cave. So we will study in the osteology part what is the Meckel's cave. Suppose this is the trigeminal ganglion which is also known as the Gasserian ganglion, and it is dividing into the V1, V2, V3. So the fold of the dura mater which is around the trigeminal nerve ganglion. Suppose this is the fifth nerve dividing into the V1, V2 and the V3. So this fold of the dura mater around the trigeminal nerve. This was studied by the around the trigeminal ganglion, Gasserian ganglion. It was studied by the Meckel. That's why it is known as the Meckel's cave. So for the surgery of this trigeminal neuralgia, we have to do 90% alcohol injection within the Meckel's cave. Okay, so it will destroy this trigeminal nerve totally. So if there is the no trigeminal nerve, if there is a total destruction of the trigeminal nerve, definitely there will be the no pain. But there are the side effects of this. What are the side effects? Yes, because this trigeminal nerve, it makes the afferent for the conjunctival reflex as well as the corneal reflex. So that patient after this surgery, they will have the loss of conjunctival and the corneal reflexes. Yes, this is the correlation with the physiology reflex chapter as well as with your medicine. But this operative procedure is not too much good. Nowadays what we are doing, yes, this is the best surgery for the trigeminal neuralgia. Try to understand. Yes, what is happening? We are carrying the patient within the MRI like machine. Yes, this is the MRI like machine, and we are localizing the brain tumor, brain mass, whatever the brain part or the trigeminal ganglion, we are localizing, and then gamma rays are coming and they are concentrating over this mass. Got the point? The gamma rays, they are burning this mass. As you know, these gamma rays are very highly destructive in nature. So this focus of the gamma rays, they totally destroy the particular mass of the nerve, of the brain, or any brain tumor. So this is known as the gamma knife surgery. Yes, this is known as gamma knife surgery. So nowadays this is the excellent surgical process for the trigeminal neuralgia. Okay, have you seen the Endgame Avenger movie, gamma radiation? The gamma radiation, due to the gamma radiation, Hulk was created. So Hulk was the best character to tolerate the snap of the 6 stones. Okay, so just to correlate that movie fact with our study, that gamma rays are very destructive. So if we will focus these gamma rays with the controlled manner, we can destroy any brain tumor, we can destroy the trigeminal mass. Okay, what is the benefit? There is the no need of making incision over the skull. You have to just focus the rays and you have to destroy. There is no single incision over the scalp region. So this is the treatment of the trigeminal neuralgia, as well as this is also used for the treatment of the acoustic neuroma, schwannoma, you will study in ENT. Okay, now next correlation. Can you see this patient, herpes zoster ophthalmicus? We are going to correlate this topic with microbiology as well as the medicine. Yes, can you see this person is having the scar? Yes, this patient is having the scar over the forehead part, involving the upper eyelid and characteristically involving the tip of the nose. So you can see, you can say that it is involving the V1 dermatome. So if any patient is coming to you with the severe painful vesicular eruption along the dermatome, that is the infection of the herpes zoster, because it is involving the V1 division, that's why ophthalmicus. Okay, so here one another image. Can you see? This is the image from your ophthalmology. Okay, correlation of the anatomy with ophthalmology, microbiology and the medicine. Yes, this is the herpes zoster infection involving the ophthalmic root V1 division, that's why ophthalmicus. Again, this is the image from the Khurana. Can you see? This person is having the painful scarring, painful vesicular eruption along the forehead involving the upper eyelid. So again it is involving the V1 root. That's why again it is the herpes infection. Whenever there is the involvement of the dermatome with the painful vesicular eruption, your answer is the herpes zoster infection. Now this is the very simple motor nerve of the face. I already told you how you have to remember. So can you see? You have to just keep the 5 fingers, temporal division, zygomatic division, over the zygomatic bone, over the temporal bone, and then next buccal part. This part is, this finger is kept over the buccal part, that's why buccal. This part is over the margin of the mandible, that's why mandible, and this part in the neck, that's why cervical branch. So these are the 5 terminal branches of the facial nerve. Again, these are the detail of the facial nerve which we will discuss in the cranial nerves, but just one time study. Yes, can you see? This is the mastoid process and this is the styloid process. So the foramen in between them, that is known as the stylomastoid foramen. Yes, here is the stylomastoid foramen. Can you see the nerve which is coming from the stylomastoid foramen? That is the facial nerve. MCQ. This is one MCQ for you. Stylomastoid foramen, it gives passage to the facial nerve. Now this nerve is dividing into the upper and the lower division. The upper division is known as the temporofacial, lower division is known as the cervicofacial. Now this temporofacial division is running above and dividing into the temporal division, and yes, this is the zygomatic division of the facial nerve, which are supplying the upper part of the facial muscle. While can you see this cervicofacial is dividing into the buccal division, upper buccal and lower buccal, and then marginal mandibular, and then cervical division. Getting the point? So what I am telling you, there are the 5 division, but before this 5 division, this facial nerve is dividing into the, yes, temporofacial and cervicofacial. The temporofacial is dividing into 2, temporal, and next one is the zygomatic, while the cervicofacial is dividing into the buccal, which is again dividing into the upper buccal, lower buccal, then marginal mandibular, and then next one is the cervical branch. So these are the branches of the facial nerve. Again we will study this all the things later in the cranial nerves. Okay, now correlate. Yes, applied part. Can you see? Suppose this is the nucleus or exit part of the facial nerve at the stylomastoid foramen. So if there is the lesion of the facial nerve below the stylomastoid foramen, then all the branches of the facial nerve supplying the face part, it is getting damaged. So there is a paralysis of the muscle. So can you see, if any patient is coming to you with the lesion below the styloid process, or better to say infranuclear lesion, this condition is known as Bell's palsy or facial palsy. So all the muscles supplied by the facial nerve at this part, they are paralyzed. So we are going to see what are the symptoms. Can you see this image again? Same. Such patient will present, yes, this site of the facial nerve is damaged. So what is happening? We have seen the face muscle part. So if this part of the nerve is paralyzed, so the loss of the frontalis activity, so the no corrugation on the forehead part, paralysis of the orbicularis oculi muscle, so it is unable to close the eyeball. So there is a widening of the palpebral fissure. You can compare in this image. Then there is the fold between the nose and the lips. This is known as the nasolabial fold. So if there is a damage to this nerve, paralysis of this muscle, so this nasolabial fold will disappear. Why? Because there is a no contraction of this side of the face. So this side of the face is normal, so there is a contraction. So there is a loss of nasolabial fold on the affected side, while here it is permanent, and also the deviation of the mouth towards the sound side. And yes, such people, when they will do the chewing, the food will accumulate on the paralyzed side and the food will dribble out from the mouth. So these are the various symptoms of the Bell's palsy. What is the Bell's palsy? Infranuclear lesion of the facial nerve is known as the Bell's palsy. Okay, yes, but later in the facial nerve, in the cranial nerve part, we will see there are the 2 types of the facial nerve damage. Suppose this is the facial nerve nuclei. So can you see this image? In this image here, this is the 7th nerve nucleus. So lesion above this 7th nerve nucleus, that is the upper motor neuron paralysis. Because this lesion is above the nucleus, that's why you can say supranuclear 7th nerve lesion. It is not the Bell's palsy. So what you have to remember, below this nucleus, if there is the lesion at nucleus or below the nucleus is known as the Bell's palsy. That's why commonly it is written, what is the Bell's palsy? Again, infranuclear lesion of the facial nerve is known as the Bell's palsy. Remember, when there is the infranuclear lesion, ipsilateral all paralysis occurs, ipsilateral facial palsy. But if there is the supranuclear lesion, then in that condition the contralateral lower half is paralyzed. You can see here in this image. We will discuss about this all the things later in the facial nerve course. Okay, can you see, this is the facial nerve nuclei. If there is the supranuclear lesion, so only this part is affected. So what you have to remember, in case of the supranuclear lesion, the contralateral opposite side, here is the lesion but affected, this side is affected. Contralateral and the lower part, yes, lower part is affected, upper part is normal. Why? We will see in the cranial nerve part. Okay, so this is about the facial nerve. Now we are going to see one more topic, that is the lymphatic drainage of the face. Yes, the lymphatic drainage of the face, mainly there are the three groups of the lymph node. One is here, another is here, and another group is here. Because it is in front of the ear, that's why this is known as the preauricular lymph node. Because this is below the mandible, that's why this is known as submandibular lymph node. And because this is below the mental region, chin region, that's why this is known as submental lymph node. So these are the three main group of the lymph node. Because this preauricular lymph node, it is embedded within the parotid gland, that's why this same is also known as parotid lymph node. Got the point? Now can you see these areas are indicated with the color. This lateral part is draining into the parotid lymph node. This midline part, entire nose and the upper lip, these all are draining into the submandibular lymph node, and very little part is only draining into the submental lymph node. So we are going to draw the same image. Yes, this is the another image for your practice. This part in front of the cranial cavity, or you can say the front part of the scalp, they all, lateral part of the upper eyelid, lateral part of the lower eyelid, they are near to the preauricular lymph node. So they are draining into the preauricular lymph node. Can you see this nose part with the medial side of the eye, upper lip, lateral part of the lower lip, they all are draining into the submandibular lymph node, and very small part, lower part of the lip, central part of the lip, and the chin part, they are near to the submental region, that is submental lymph node. So here you can draw the easy image. Suppose this is the face, these are the eyes, and diagrammatic presentation, suppose this is the nose and this is the lip. Okay, so what are the various group of the lymph node? Suppose this is the ear, so here is the group of the lymph node, preauricular lymph node. Here the group of the lymph node, submandibular lymph, and below the chin, that's a submental. So what are the name? This is the parotid, or you can say preauricular lymph node. Here is the submandibular lymph node, and this is the submental lymph node. So these are the three groups. Now to remember, you have to draw few lines. Yes, one line is running in this manner, and another line at the lower part of the lip. This is the yellow color area which is draining, which is showing the drainage part of the preauricular lymph node. Yes, can you see here? This blue color area is covering, it is draining into the nearby lymph node, that is the submandibular lymph node. But see here, the lower part of the central lip you have not to draw. And now this central part of the lower lip, it is draining into the submental lymph node. Okay, so again I am just telling you, you can write down the lateral part of the scalp, the lateral part of the forehead, the lateral part of the upper eyelid, the lateral part of the lower eyelid, lateral part of the maxilla, and the lateral part of the mandible region. They are close to the preauricular lymph node, they will drain into the preauricular or parotid lymph node. While the central part of the forehead, medial part of the upper eyelid, medial part of the lower eyelid, then entire nose, then medial part of the maxillary region, medial part of the mandibular region, upper lip, and the lateral part of the lower lip, they all are close to this submandibular lymph node, so they will drain into the submandibular lymph node. While can you see the central part of the lower lip and the central part of the chin, they are close to the submental lymph node, that's why they will drain into the submental lymph node. But I am telling you few more extra point. Yes, see here, tip of the tongue, it is close to the submental lymph node, that's why you have to remember, very important MCQ, tip of the tongue drains into the submental lymph node. Why? Because in ENT correlation, yes, in ENT you study that tongue carcinoma, and carcinoma by the pathology, you know that carcinoma is spread by the lymphatic route, that's why the lymphatic drainage of the tongue is important. So what you have to remember? Yes, tip of the tongue, then lower part of the gum near the incisor teeth, then central part of the lower lip, then center part of the chin, they all are very close to this submental lymph node, that's why they will drain into the submental lymph node. Got the point? Okay, this is very important MCQ, you have to remember. Can you see how the few MCQ have been asked from this lymphatic drainage? In the NEET, the question, lips drain into all except preauricular lymph node. Yes, do you remember? Lips, preauricular lymph node, can it drain? We will see. Submandibular lymph node, then submental lymph node and none. Yes, see here, through this diagram you can see the lips. Yes, in this diagram you can see the upper lip is draining into the submandibular lymph node, lower lip lateral part submandibular, but the central part is draining into the submental lymph node. Got the point? Yes, so it is not draining into the preauricular lymph node. Okay, so here your answer is preauricular lymph node. Got the point? Now question from the 2016 question is lymphatic drainage of lateral wall of the nose is your answer. Yes, retropharyngeal lymph node, then deep cervical lymph node, submandibular lymph node and all of the above. Okay, so what is the answer? Yes, here your answer is all of the above. Why? Here I have given the notes for you. Can you see? Lymphatic drainage of the nasal cavity including both nasal septa and the lateral wall. Remember, the anterior half of the nasal cavity, it will drain into the superficial part, so it is close to the submandibular lymph node. So anterior half part of the nasal cavity, it is draining into the submandibular lymph node, while the posterior half, it is deeply located, posterior half, so it is draining into the upper deep cervical lymph node as well as group of the lymph node which is situated posterior to the pharynx. That's why retropharyngeal lymph node. So this is one more additional point. Again we will meet with the same point in the nose part. So remember, anterior half, it is draining into the submandibular, posterior half in the deep cervical lymph node, upper deep cervical lymph node, as well as it is close to the pharynx part. That's why retropharyngeal lymph node. Okay, so few additional MCQs. Question is deep fascia. Remember, the deep fascia is absent in the face. We have seen in the face video part 1, but remember the deep fascia is present over the two parts, over the parotid and the masseter, parotidomasseteric fascia. So correlation with the PSM. In PSM we study that mumps is very painful condition. Why? Because the mumps, yes, because the parotid gland, what is the mumps? Mumps virus infection in the parotid gland. Yes, the parotid gland is tightly enclosed within the deep fascia, which is known as the parotidomasseteric fascia. So a small swelling within the parotid gland causes the severe painful condition. So remember, the deep fascia is absent in the face except over the parotid as well as the masseter, with the correlation to the mumps and the PSM. Okay, now also it is present over the buccal intermuscle, and that fascia is known as the buccopharyngeal fascia. So these are the two parts where the deep fascia is present in the face, other remaining all the part deep fascia is absent to facilitate the facial expression. Now can you see few clinical points? Yes, Bell's palsy, yes, we have talked about the Bell's palsy. Trigeminal neuralgia or tic douloureux, yes, we have talked about this. Now herpes zoster ophthalmicus applied part, we are dealing with the applied part. Yes, so herpes zoster ophthalmicus we have completed. Dangerous area of the face we have also completed. Maxillofacial death pyramid, same name of the dangerous area of the face but in the pyramidal structure. Now anesthetist artery, facial artery, boils and acne. As you know, the infection of the root of the hair follicle is known as the boils, and yes, in the face part we are having the very small hair follicles. Yes, we are having the beard, this all. So if the hair root follicle is infected, then definitely it will result in the boils. Also you can say the furunculosis. Facial edema and renal edema, already we have talked in the first part of the face that the facial skin is very loose, so whenever there is the edema, especially the renal edema, the fluid accumulates in the face part. Okay, yes, plastic surgery, I already told you that this face is having very high rich vascular supply. That's why it gives excellent response to the plastic surgery or any kind of the surgery by giving the excellent way of the healing. Yes, and the tension line of the face. So what are the tension line of the face? Can you see? Cleavage line or the tension line. The skin of our face, they are having the particular very fine lines, and yes, along this all the lines we are having the wrinkles. At the old age we produces the wrinkles along these lines of the cleavage. So what are the various clinical points? So remember, whenever you are going to perform any surgery in the face, always give the incision parallel to these lines. Otherwise, what will happen? If you are giving the incision vertical to the line, the healing scar will be large in the face. So yes, the lines, these all are the tension line at the corner of the eye. They are making of the crow foot. Okay, yes, and here the surprise muscle is doing activity. So these are the lines. At the young age, there is the no wrinkling, very few wrinkling, but at the old age, along this tension line, the wrinkles develops. Now, what are the other clinical we can correlate? Yes, can you see this image? These are the tension lines running in this way. So at the old age, the wrinkles develops along these lines. Okay, and can you see the scar mark? Yes, if these incisions during the operative process or any lesion, that lesion are parallel to this line, the scar mark will be less. But if that lines are perpendicular, okay, if these lines are perpendicular to these lines, then definitely the scar mark will be bigger. So this is another applied part. Yes, these knowledge of the lines are also used for the movie making, this all the procedure. Okay, so can you see? Yes, the very dangerous villain of the Endgame Avenger movie, Marvel, Thanos, can you see in his face the ideal image of the face? This all the animation have been created by the scar mark. Can you see? They are following this scar marks. They are following the tension line. Yes, can you see? They are following the tension line. So by this cleavage line, tension line, also the facial expression and various masks are made. Okay, muscle of the facial expression antagonist to orbiculis oculi and not supplied by the facial nerve. So this is the MCQ. Okay, as you know, all the facial muscles are derivative of second arch. Okay, that's why the nerve of the second arch, that is the facial nerve. So the facial nerve will supply all these muscles, but except one muscle. Yes, do you remember levator palpebrae superioris? The levator palpebrae superioris, it develops from the somites. It is a muscle of the eyeball, extraocular muscle, not the muscle of the face. Okay, actually it is the extraocular muscle, but we study this levator palpebrae superioris in the face just for our convenience. But actually it is the extraocular muscle which develops from the somites. So it is the muscle of the eye. That's why it is supplied by the nerve of the eye, that is the third nerve. Do you remember? All the muscles of the eyeball, they are supplied by the third nerve except SO4, LR6. Superior oblique is supplied by the trochlear nerve and lateral rectus is supplied by the sixth nerve. So the levator palpebrae superioris, it is the muscle of the extraocular muscle eye, that's why third nerve. Otherwise levator palpebrae superioris, 3 words, so third cranial nerve. Got the point? So this is about the our nerve supply. So which is the answer? Definitely levator palpebrae superioris is not supplied by the facial nerve, and also it is the antagonist to the orbicularis oculi. You know, orbicularis oculi, it is the winking muscle, Priya Prakash warrior muscle, aankh marne wali muscle. But opening muscle is the levator because it will elevate. Palpebrae means eyelid, superioris means above. So this levator palpebrae superioris is elevating the eyelid above. That's why it is the eye opener muscle, antagonist to the orbicular. So in this two way you can solve this MCQ. Now can you see another MCQ? AIIMS November 2015 pattern. All structures pierces the buccinator muscle except. So here are the list. I am giving the explanation as well as the answer for this. Yes, here is the explanation and the answer. Can you see? All structure pierces the buccinator muscle. I will tell you later. The parotid duct pierces the 3B. So among them 1B is the buccinator. So yes, parotid duct will pierce. Okay, and the various glands in the cheek, they will also pierce. And the mandibular nerve is having also the buccal branch, that will also pierce. But the buccal branch of the facial nerve, it is supplying the subcutaneous muscle, panniculus cornosus muscle. So why it will pierce the buccinator muscle? It is the superficial nerve. So buccal branch of the facial nerve, it will not pierce. That will divide into the superficial, upper buccal, lower buccal, and they will supply the muscle, subcutaneous muscle. So it is below the skin, so it is not piercing the muscle inside. Okay, so here is the list for your practice. that structure piercing the buccinator, parotid duct, no excuse, parotid duct, it pierces the buccinator. Buccal branch of the mandibular nerve, it also pierces. And then 4 to 5 molar mucous glands, they also pierces. Okay, yes, these 4 to 5 molar mucous gland, they lie over the buccopharyngeal fascia around the parotid duct. So these all are the answer. Here is the image that buccinator muscle is pierced by the parotid duct. Above this buccinator muscle there is the buccopharyngeal fascia. So this MCQ will help, this image will help for the solution of few MCQs.